From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
From the battlefield to the boardroom, this is Dog Tags to Ownership, the podcast where veterans share their journeys from serving our nation to leading in business. Hear inspiring stories of grit, growth, and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives those who've served to succeed. Tune in and take the first step toward your own mission in entrepreneurship.
Military One Percenters, welcome to Dog Tags to Ownership, where once a week we interview veterans who charted a path towards entrepreneurship. Here, our goals are to share resources, advice, and success stories about starting a business, discuss strategies for building financial independence and creating your own path, and most importantly, build a community to support each other through the challenges of transitioning from service life to civilian ownership. Today, we're excited to introduce our guest to the show, Kamar Perkins. Kamar is a U.S. Army veteran and the founder and president of ProTech Consulting Group, a service-disabled, veteran-owned technology and consulting firm based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Kamar, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your journey from dog tags to ownership.
I'm just happy and blessed to be closing out the day with you two fine folks, and I'm excited to get into it and be in the hot seat, as y'all just alluded to.
Hell yeah.
We really appreciate you coming onto our podcast to talk a little bit about your journey in founding your business. But before we get into all the business stuff and the entrepreneurship journey, could you first just tell us a little bit about yourself and your military service?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Washington, D.C. originally. I grew up all up and down the northern area of the state. I was awarded the state, so very young age. My mom was murdered when I was 5 years old, and so I went into the foster care system. And then my cousins, who I call mom and dad today, they adopted me and brought me into Clinton, Maryland, and that's where I kind of grew up. Joined the enlisted in the United States Army. I did transportation and logistics operations for special operations and the support role there. And then I commissioned to be a quartermaster officer and did more support before finally retiring medically out of the North Carolina National Guard late in 2023. Other than that, I got my dog who's staring out the window, and I live here in Durham, North Carolina, the great Bull City.
And I know you mentioned there that you were medically retired out of the military. Can you just briefly talk about that transition and you getting out and then getting into what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. I joined the military when I was about 17, 18 years old. It was my first big boy job. So my entire adulthood life was being a U.S. Army soldier, being an officer in the United States military. And so when I transitioned out of the military, it was shock, really, truly. It was like, what am I doing? What am I gonna do? I can't land any of these jobs in logistics. I have no idea who am I truly without this identifier, without the rank on your chest or the uniform that you're wearing on the day-to-day. Who am I? What do I like? What do I love to do? And what do I want to do? And so essentially it came to a point where as I was transitioning out, I had about a year's span where it was like that full medical out processing. And I had started in the medical clinics because my goal was when I get out, like I want to continue to serve. And I was always good at building teams, identifying talent and individuals, and then building teams around those talents. And so I started out in the medical field. I partnered with a physician that was doing addictions treatment. And from that addictions treatment, we were able to offer free addictions treatment to military veterans here in the state of North Carolina by way of Divine Medical. And before that, which is currently still running Priority Health, so Priority Health Medical Clinic, as well as our PCS services, which take care of elderly. So my goal in everything that I do is to have some type of impact or some type of positivity behind the work that we do. And so that was kind of my leap. It took off really nicely. I was able to start my transition process and retire. So when I retired, I already had something that I was looking forward to. Which was running my clinic day to day. Subsequently, it just so happened that one of my really good friends, because I was really big into political campaigns and having impact in the community that I was in. It's one thing to just live in a community, but it's another thing to actually get out and try to be the change that you want to see. And he worked in a political campaign for me. So there was this investor out of New York that wanted to invest in social impact investing to lower the recidivism rate. This was post-COVID in North Carolina, which at the time was 49%. And so I said, yeah, I 100% want to do that, but I also want to tie it back into veterans, right? Because I love my veteran community, my veteran family. I said, I want to help the veterans who are incarcerated in North Carolina. Some of them are incarcerated for reasons due to their military service, whether that be PTSD or what have you. I want to have them a system set that could be a different process than just general population. North Carolina at the time had about 2 to 3 what we call veteran courts. And so we were able to start up a court in Wake County, which is the largest county in North Carolina. So the veteran court revitalized Harnett County. Cumberland County already has one, which is where we got the blueprint for it. I mean, the stack to do this was like this high. It was insane, but we did it. We took it to the Congressional Armed Forces Committee floor and got it funded through Congress. So it's running and thriving strong today. And then to take me to where I am now, outside of all the other things, boards and stuff that I sit on, the tech company, I identified a need, which is I wanted to build technology that put the soldiers first, that put the frontline troops, and that was done in a more ethical, safe, and secure way. And so we didn't do the traditional route of building a product and then just marketing the hell out of that product. We market our services, and then we take what your idea is. If you're an agency, if you're a private client or whatever your idea is, we build it and we give you ownership of it. We help you scale it, and then we help you to sustain that service as well. And I really identified that by doing the old nerdy, looking at what the financial spending was, looking at the budget and saying, what did we spend money on here in 2022? And what is our projection in 2023 that we'll spend the most money on? I think the technology sector at that time was somewhere around $35 billion estimated spending in 2023. They far exceeded that, of course, and to this day, they're going to continue to exceed that, especially back then, the implementation, the notion of artificial intelligence, machine learning, the notion of secured and containerized systems was a thing. And then as our cyber threat continues to be very prevalent in this generation, I see that I can estimate that the defense spending around cybersecurity and these technologies are going to continue to grow.
Kamar, where does the passion, you talked about following passion and making an impact in whatever you do. Where does that and your entrepreneurial spirit, where does that originate from?
I think if I'll be very vulnerable with you guys, and this is probably the first time I've ever spoken like this, I think honestly, I was a kid that was pretty much born with nothing. I wrote a book about kind of what I came up through and what made my life and how I got to where I am now. I used to sleep out at a bus stop in the middle of the winter with an old homeless Marine veteran. And I give crap to the Marine Corps all day long, but I love those guys and girls there. They were stealing food from Food Lion and eating out of the trash cans at Long John Silver's, if you guys are old enough to remember that restaurant. I always thought to myself, since I was a kid, I'd always say, I'm not going to be another statistic. I won't be a product of my environment. And I won't fail. And I always carry this thought of, if I don't quit, I can do just about anything that I put my mind to. All I have to do is just make it another 24 hours and then just increase every 24 hours, just do better than I did the last 24 hours. And surely whatever you're chasing after is going to get there. But I think it's always been that hunger, both real hunger, being homeless and hungry as a 12-year-old child on the street, to being hungry and like, I want more out of life. And then the passion of the impact is like, there are kids that have worse stories than me. There are people that are walking around as adults now that have been through worse than me. And I just want to be able to give that kid, no matter what they look like, where they're from, race, creed, religion, I want to give them the opportunity to do something more, to do what they want to do. So if they're passionate in something that I have a hand on, I want them to have that opportunity. I want to open that door for them and bring them in and make them better.
No, that's an incredible story. And I know we had a guest on some time ago that had an incredibly difficult upbringing as well, and I came from poverty. And I asked him, I was like, do you know, because your upbringing was so difficult, was that sort of your equivalent to a rock bottom? I don't know if you felt like that, or if that's made your mindset stronger, if that's just made you pursue excellence that much more.
Yeah. I think the thought of the fear is a reality, it's a construct that we make in our mind. Fear is just the forward thought of something that could come to pass that may never come to pass. Will Smith said it best. But I think for me, I have felt that, right? So I already know what that feels like. I've been there. I've been hungry. I've been in the back of trash cans. I've been that kid on the street there just trying to make a nickel or a dime to get a warm cup of coffee or a pillow to lay my head on a bus stop outside. So no matter what I go through or no matter how much I fail, if I get back to that point, it'll be all right because I've been there and I made it already. I can do it again. If I've done it before, I can do it again. And yeah, I think it does. It plays a tremendous part. It plays a tremendous role.
I think another, observation as you were talking, Kamar, the folks we have on this podcast, and we have incredible people on this podcast that Julie and I talk about. We don't, to have the privilege to speak with you, to speak with some of the folks we've had on. You're doing so much, right? You're an author, you're a service member, you're an entrepreneur, and not just in one area. You were in the medical arena, and now you're in the tech. How was that? How was that transition? Are I know you said you were nerding out on some stuff, but what do you know about tech? Like, how did you get into that area?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Yeah, I think so. All of these things are done congruently. Like they're still operating. I think the biggest piece, and I always give a big shout out to my team. Honestly, none of this would be possible without my team. I have a tremendous team in the medical practice realm. I have some of the best physicians that are able to identify these patients and see them as a person and fix them mind, body, spirit. And they're phenomenal. They truly are. And then my administrative staff, my C-suite teams, they're just phenomenal. They're go-getters. Being able to identify these individuals is that's 90% of the battle. Is like you have a vision, you have a commander's intent. We hear that all the time. Our commander's intent in the military. The commander has an intent. Now it's up to you to take that op board and get it done how you see best to get it done. Well, that's what they do. I give them freedom of maneuver. I say, what you think is best is best. I don't limit their time. If they want to take time off to see family, I don't need you to put on leave. Put it on the calendar. Let me know you'll be out of the office. It's big boy, big people business. Take care of what you got to take care of. At the end of the day, right, you want to succeed, I want to succeed, and y'all believe in me so much that they're willing to go out and get it done every day. And I couldn't be more grateful and more blessed for the individuals that I have on my team. And that's in the tech. I mean, I got one of the sharpest CTOs in the game. Shout out to Sushira Samkata, my EA, Anna Riddle, and my COO, Jessica Renkin. I mean, these three are really the backbone. I call Jessica and Anna, and they're going to see this. I know they are. I call them my last two brain cells. Every call, say, you guys are seeing my last two brain cells in physical form right now. Because if it wasn't for those two young ladies, dude, I couldn't tell you, man. I couldn't tell you. So I think my team is phenomenal. And for me, I don't need to be and this is one thing that I'll say, from this seat as a president or as a founder, like I don't need to be able to get into a client's system and build them out a software or a solution or whatever they may need. What I need to be able to do is identify their problem and then work with my team to find the solution to that and be able to present that solution in an intellectual way, in a way that they can understand this is what we're going to do. And then just be honest and open about it. Honesty is best policy. And so from the medical realm, I have years of knowledge and experience there. In the tech realm, I have a couple years here in experience, but I have a plethora of years in just operational efficiency and learning how to identify talent and build out top tier teams. And so knowing my strengths, right, is a key element in what I do on the day to day. It's like, I know how to build a team. I know how to make sure that they're running operationally efficiently, and I know how to talk to people, and I know how to network and partner and shake hands and kiss babies all darn day. When it comes to the bread and butter and getting their hands dirty, I rely on them to do that, and I'm not shy about telling it. Right? I'm not shy about saying this would not be possible if it wasn't for you guys, and I truly mean that.
And I think it's so interesting that you talked about building teams, building efficiency, all of those types of things. And those are all terms and things that we hear in the Army. That's what's ingrained to us. That is part of that inculcation, I guess, that's part of our souls now, and that leadership ability that we get as we come out of the military service. And for you just to discuss that and how you built your company through those leadership principles. But when you first started the company, was it just you, like, starting your consulting group, and then how did you build that out and scale it and do all of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's a phenomenal question. Absolutely, it was me. When you look at it, anything that I've done, I've always been the first one through the door. I'm in the tunnel, and I had to learn it. And I had to build out those systems piece by piece, hand by hand. And then somewhere along the line, I go, okay, now it's time to bring in this piece. Well, now it's time to bring in that piece. And then chatting with the people that have already been there and already done it. My partner network, those individuals who are willing to give me the knowledge, like, hey, should I hire this role or should I hire this role at this point in the business? Being vulnerable, being open, and letting them know. I think the veteran business or the veteran entrepreneurial circle in North Carolina is phenomenal. There's so many of us, and they're all so great and willing to share knowledge. That's definitely a network that, if I was to start over again, I would start by tapping into that and holding on to some of their coattails and letting them feed me the do's and do nots of the industry.
You built out your business and brought on different folks to help you. Were they other veterans, or were they just through your networking that you were able to find those folks, those experts in those fields, to really help you? How did you go about reaching out and bringing on the folks that you have? You said you have the best tech person in the industry, so love to know how you got
Yeah,
them.
he's gonna love to hear that. But Sushir is actually a reservist. I met Sushir in Fayetteville, North Carolina, at a veteran small business conference, and obviously this was me doing it again by myself. And I met him in Fuquay, Verena, at this place called. I said it right this time. I met him at this place called Vicious Fishes. If you guys know about it. Starts talking to me about his background, and I said, hey, this is what I'm kind of looking for, this is what I'm working on and building. And I said, do you want in? And he says, yeah, absolutely, let's go for it. And so I bring Sushir into the fold, and he knocks it out. Jessica had worked with me for quite some time before, and I'll tell you, her story is unique. She's a military spouse. She doesn't have a institutional education. She doesn't have a college degree or anything like that. And this is my COO I'm talking about here. But what she had was a drive. This girl's a hustler. If I give her something, it's going to get done. T's crossed, I's dotted. She's phenomenal at what she does. She's very analytical and she's precise. You would have thought she was somebody sergeant major, but clearly she's not. She's like 28 years old. She was my EA through my nonprofit ventures, through the medical clinics, and then eventually she volunteered herself to just do everything for me, just to be the EA across the board. Now, the hardest part is that I wanted to promote her to COO because she is excellent at keeping up with our partners, at organization. But I said, we got to find somebody as good as you. How do we do that, right? I got to replicate you now to promote you and get a new EA. And Anna comes to see me. I go to this other conference, and Anna's there, and she's talking to me, and she's a journalist major. She graduated from Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill. And we're just talking, and so we exchange information. And then I say, simple conversation, and I say, why don't you come work for ProTech? Well, you come work for me, because I realized something in her that I'd seen in Jessica in the beginning. And Anna gets in, and she's killing it. She's just a rock star at it. Our tech team comes from Sushir. Sushir has a very extensive network of tech professionals, from cybersecurity to AI. I like to go into board meetings when I met with Durham County about starting an initiative for some of the lesser known colleges in North Carolina, not your UNCs, not your Dukes, those universities, but the other smaller universities. I want to give them more tech jobs because there's a lot of tech talent in North Carolina. The first thing, I sit down at the table, and we're sitting at the boardroom, so she's sitting to my left. Jessica's there with us, and what's in there, and I go, are you guys interested in creating jobs and making impact here in North Carolina and promoting the youth and the talent that you have here in Durham, North Carolina? If so, please let me know. Let's have this conversation. If not, I don't want to waste any of our time. And they said, absolutely. But I'm comfortable with standing on those principles. This is what I want, and I expect the same things out of my partners too, and my team.
You've done an incredible job, obviously, putting the right people in the right places. And like Julie alluded to earlier, we get a taste of that in the military, and it's finding strengths and weaknesses and assembling that team. We're only as strong as our weakest link. So it's like finding what people are good at, leveraging that.
Not only do you have your consulting group in the tech field, but you also do a lot of stuff to help the youth, to help veterans, and to just support the veteran community and the youth community. Can you just talk a little bit about how that passion of yours to support the youth and support the veteran community and how you do that in North Carolina and through the different boards that you're on?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the youth. That's the closest thing to me. We support and sponsor. I sponsor a lot of the art museums and the art councils across North Carolina, including the opera, the orchestra, and the ballet. I own a international ballroom studio here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Step to Gold, and we have youth programs for those kids that are at home students right now, and then students that are not at home that can make the times that we have on Mondays, including our senior nights and stuff like that. Knowing that ballroom dance at that level instills confidence. It's a fun way for the kids to be active and learn a new skill. The art museums have their own programs that they put on, their showcases, their youth initiatives. And so what I do is I go into a lot of these art museums or these art councils. Like I just had coffee a week ago and decided that we would sponsor the Wake County Arts Council in North Carolina. They have a lot of great youth initiatives where they're getting into the schools and they're teaching not just, your art or your contemporary, but they're also teaching entrepreneurship or business owner aspects of the art world itself. I identify programs that are reaching the kids in the rural areas of North Carolina, but also teaching critical thinking. Sitting on the board of Wake Ed Partnerships, one of the things that they introduced last year was this concept of you can create these programs for educational advancement outside of the home, but the home is still, they have to go home. So if the home life is not good, the only good that they're getting is when they're outside of the home. And that just kind of creates a trauma circle where they don't want to go home. And so now we're able to partner with these parents and things and bring them in via our literature programs and things like that.
Were you into like the arts growing up? Was that something that you were drawn to as a youth as well?
Loved art, and the best thing about the DC area, the DMV area, is there's so many free art museums that you can just walk into. So as a kid, I'd catch the metro down and I'd just escape from life. I just go into an art museum. And the best part about the DMV area, at least when I was growing up, is everybody looked homeless. So I didn't look any different than anyone else on the street. I could just mosey on into an art museum and act like I belonged there. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I love the art. It was definitely an escape. I would stare at pictures for a very long time and just interpret what the artist was trying to say. And that was a big part. I have a lot of art pieces in my house and stores that I've acquired, antique pieces, etc. There was one point when I lived in the barracks, I had all this art, and my roommate walked into my room and he said, it looks like it's just like a museum, like a memorial for dead artists in here. And I said, dude, but yeah, that's always been me, man. That's always been me. I love art. I love the world of dance. I love the actual art. I like contemporary art. I love all types of art that you can think of.
Renaissance man.
I am truly. I still smoke cigars and drink scotch. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a guy's guy.
Besides the youth and the arts, how do you support veterans and what do you
Yeah,
do for veterans?
we alluded to the Vets Bridge, which was the nonprofit that we started. Out of that, we were able to help and start so many different foundations, not only just helping veterans, but also women that were victims of domestic violence here in North Carolina, giving them a home and a program so that they can reestablish themselves into everyday life. I sit on the board of the directors for NVSPC. We do a lot of promotion for veteran-owned small business, as well as a lot of, let's call it lobbying for litigation that supports veteran-owned small businesses as well. So very outside of that, Divine Medical, we're taking in veteran patients that are suffering from addictions, and we're giving them free addictions treatment. And then on top of that, also mental health treatment until the VA can pick up. If you can't get an appointment with your VA provider for 6 months, we're going to be that gap for you so that when you see your VA provider, you don't go without. AFCIA North Carolina. So I sit on the board as a VP of grants and scholarships in AFCIA. Not only do we bring veteran-owned small business, but all small business to the fold in the GovCon world and abroad, where they can meet purchasers, meet the decision makers and the movers and shakers, your Booz Allens, your Raytheons, your Northrop Grumman's, etc. They can meet them in a room, or some representative of those companies in a room, and network in that manner. Me specifically here in North Carolina, I give out grants and scholarships to teachers and students across the state of North Carolina, and then veteran students as well. So your ROTC cadets that are veterans, or non-ROTC cadets that are veterans, we give them scholarships as well. So your high performers. So every ROTC TC program. They get their pick of three. Every three students across the state of North Carolina, they get a scholarship. And on top, the school is able to identify one veteran that receives a scholarship from me as well.
It super fascinating, everything, and I think Matt alluded to it earlier, but not only do you have your consulting group, but the work you do for the youth, for the veterans, and just giving that support to them. And, the biggest thing for us and our podcast, and as we're expanding this brand and building it out to help that community of veterans who wanna pursue entrepreneurship is just supporting each other, and, you do a phenomenal job of that, and, it's great to see that and hear that from another veteran. What has been your biggest challenge with getting out of the military, starting your business, sitting on these boards, doing these nonprofits, all of those things to really do everything that you do?
Yeah, I would say every single company or organization or what I do has its own unique challenges that come with it. So it's different. I think for me, there's so much that I want to do. There's so much more that I want to do. It's just a personal challenge, but I have to understand that it's a time thing. I can't do all that I want to do. It's a time plus resources. I don't necessarily have all the resources to do everything that I want to do. In the next 5 years, it's a major plan that I'm working on is building affordable housing and veteran homes to help attack the homeless veteran population here in North Carolina. We have one of the largest veteran populations in the country, and there's so many homeless veterans here. I want to be able to identify them and put them in a home, reestablish them, reintegrate them back into society. But it's just continuing to trust the process is the biggest advice that I could say in that piece is just trust the process and your time will come. Client acquisition is always going to be a thing for any business, whether it's services, whether you're selling a product or whatever. My way of dealing with client acquisition is partnerships and relationships. If I see an opportunity or if I win some work or something, I would always, and this is my word, under oath here on your podcast, right hand up on the Bible, I will always bring another veteran-owned small business, woman-owned, minority-owned business, or what have you, along with me on that ride. Because it's so important. And the more you build out your ecosystem and the better they do, the better you do ultimately, right? Because I want to see them grow and I want to see them, succeed more. And the only way to do that is to open the door for them. Let them in, let them prove themselves, and pick them up when they fall or where they fall.
Kamar, is that your definition of success, like seeing others succeed? I was gonna ask you, how would you define success?
So I think, this is, and I actually end up saying this a lot. My definition of success, right? If I look down the span of my life, so however many years the Lord grants me, right? And at my funeral, just one person stands up and goes, because of that guy laying in there in that coffin or urn or whatever they put me in. If one person stands up and goes, because of that guy right there, my life is just that much better. That's my definition of success, right? As living a life full of impact, living a life dedicated to service and making change in the areas that we can affect. That's my definition of success.
Our other question, it's Julie typically asks this one, but what advice would you give a service member that's getting ready to transition out? Might be thinking about business ownership, maybe not, but is there some wisdom you could share with that service member?
Yeah, I would say, my advice to anyone getting out of the military, especially in today's climate, is find what really makes you happy. Find out what you want to do. You've given your time, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, 20 plus. You've given your time to the country, and there's going to be some benefit in that. Take that opportunity to say, do I want a job in sales? Do I want to be a business owner? If I want to be a business owner, what do I want to do? And do it the right way and do what makes you happy. And then live life on your terms. Just live life on your terms and follow positivity or the positivity in your truth. And I think if we do that, if we live in a way where it's like, this is my truth, this is what I want to do, this is what I love, you can truly never work a day in your life. So that would be my advice. Do what makes you happy and find what is truly, really step back. You're out of uniform now. Take a second, take a breath, look yourself in the mirror and go, who am I? Who was I before the military? Who am I now? And what do I want to do?
It's good. I haven't heard that spin, "Who was I before the military?" That add-on, that I think that's good to reflect back to before you put that uniform on, because people get lost when they take the uniform off, so
Yeah.
reflect back on who they were before. Granted, we were probably a little bit more immature and made poor decisions before we put that uniform on, but,
Before we get to our last two questions, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners and followers that we didn't ask you today that you would like to provide to them?
The only thing that I would say for the listeners is to reiterate, just don't quit. Whatever it is in life, if you decide you want to go climb that mountain, climb that damn mountain and don't quit. Don't stop until you summit it. Whatever your mountain may be, pick your mountain and you climb it and you don't quit because you never know. I'll share the story. I was gonna give up on the tech company. I was gonna give up on defense contracting totally. I was about 150,000 plus dollars into it. I was tired. I was exhausted. I couldn't win anything. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm submitting like 20 plus RFPs a month, which is insanity. But now I look back, I'm like, that's insane. What were we doing? But it's poor leadership at the end. I got to take I got to be honest about that's poor leadership. That's on me, not understanding my industry. And I was really having this conversation with partners and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for me to hang up the boots on this, put my focus back into the clinic and put my focus back into these things that I want to do. Because this, I don't know where this is going. It's just not working. And about 2 weeks later, I remember having the conversation with one of my partners in Tampa. And he says, man, whatever you do, don't quit. He's like, I know it looks bad. He's like, but you don't know you could be 3 partnership potential phone calls away from winning a great opportunity. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I was on a call with a company out of Texas, a veteran-owned Air Force guy, and his partner's a former nuclear submarine something way smarter than me anyway. And they offered me an opportunity that completely changed the trajectory of our company for the rest of eternity. And it wasn't a government contracting opportunity. It was a commercial base. We have a product, we have a service. We need an integrator, and then we need a service person to service it and be that provider. And we want to scale. And you guys are exactly why I want to choose to do it. And the crazy thing about it was when we did the meeting, I was in Tampa, Florida. I was in Tampa, Florida for Soft Week and trying to, shake hands and rub shoulders there. And I said, I'll fly over to Texas. He was in Dallas. I said, I'll fly over to Texas to meet you in person because I'm an old school guy and give me a reason to travel. I love to travel. So I go and I meet with him in person. By the time I get off the plane, I couldn't get connection. And when I get off the plane, I have this email that says, we would like you guys to be the service provider for this opportunity that we have, X, Y, and Z. What do you think? Name your price. And I was like, this is nonsense. Here we go again. But really, I was that close to just hanging it up and quitting. So just don't ever quit because you never know when you'll get that call, that opportunity that'll literally change your business's trajectory and your life as well.
That's
all
great
right.
advice. No, it's great. It's great advice. Are we going into our final 2 questions?
Oh, yeah.
Can we add one bonus question? You're from the DMV. So commanders or
We already had this conversation before you got on, Matt.
I know, that's why I got to ask it for
My
Julie.
father's going to be pissed. I love the Ravens, man. Those are my guys. I'll tell you why I love the Ravens because the first football game I ever went to live, my dad, we were sitting on, my uncle used to put on these, he's a great business guy. He used to put on these events in Baltimore. And so we get these tickets to the Ravens game, one of their home games, and we're sitting in like pretty much over the tunnel. And I see Ray Lewis come out. I've been a fan since, dude. There's nothing like that in the world. There is nothing like that in the world. I was like, whoa. Really,
My passion's real estate. That's what I listen to outside of Dog Tags to Ownership and read. It's all real estate focused. What would you recommend to a listener if you had a book or a podcast or anything that you'd recommend? Wide open.
Yeah. First off, I'm really big into real estate too. More rental properties than anything these days. I would say my book of choice, one of the things that really helped me change my mindset when I first started business is a book called The One Thing. That book's amazing. Gary Keller wrote this book called The One Thing. It's a remarkable concept when you think about it, because if I had to really shorten it, really short synopsis of it, it's that master this one thing or do one thing and be very good at that one thing and then expand. I think what a lot of us do when we get in the business, I'm guilty of it too, is we try to do so many different things. Like we start off in one area and then we see a shiny object and then we see another shiny object and then we see another shiny object. And now we're just spread all over the place. We're jacks of all trades. But If we focus in on that one thing, really refine, develop, automate, and make it its own system where it's running without our input, our day-to-day input, then we can branch off, do another one thing, master that, move to another one thing, and do it the same way. So The One Thing by Gary Keller it's a hell of a read for anyone that I think is trying to get into business or might want to chase a career path or whatever. The One Thing is super.
That book sounds amazing, so definitely have to check that out. And if Matt ever gets to our monthly newsletter, we'll be sure to include your book recommendation to that. He hears it almost every episode.
This is where I come to get my guidance and direction for the podcast.
So, Kamar, the last question of every episode, Admiral William McRaven authored the book, Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. So, do you make your bed?
Yeah, what a hell of a guy. That was an incredible speech that he given you, by the way. Very motivation. Absolutely. I make my bed every morning. I got a little duvet cover that I fold over the end of it, and I definitely make my bed. And, the first thing, my morning routine is I get up and I pray. Before I take on the day, before I look at my phone, before I do anything else, I pray, and I'm just praying in a place of gratitude and gratefulness. And I'm opening myself up. I don't know how many people are into the energetics the way I am, but spirituality is, I just want to be grateful for everything. I'm grateful for waking up, and I'm grateful for another day to get out and do the things that I love to do, and make my dream a reality and help make other people's dreams a reality as well. And then so I always start with a day of gratefulness, and then I get up and I make my bed. And it is one heck of a feeling after a long day to come back home to a nicely made bed and my dog laying on the end of it. And I'm just like, dude, I can't have nice things.
Well, Kamar, it's been an absolute pleasure. I probably won't find the words to summarize how good of an episode this has been. You're doing so many incredible things, obviously, personally, professionally, but most importantly for others. Your ability to build teams. I'm sure there's going to be people lined up at your funeral to say wonderful things. I don't think it's going to be one person. So, and that's obviously in the far distant future, but keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully we can have you back on here, because we need to find out more about the houses you're gonna get going in North Carolina for the homeless vet population. Best of luck with that, and we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I look forward to it.
Military One Percenters, whether you're brainstorming your first business idea, already running a company, or just curious about where to start, Dog Tags to Ownership is the place for you. Please hit that subscribe button to receive all new episodes. Also, if you know someone who has turned their dog tags into ownership, drop us a DM on social media or tag someone. We are always looking for new guests to bring onto the podcast. And as always, Military One Percenters, thank you for your service. Let's continue this journey and working together to write our next chapter. Until next week, keep pushing to turn those dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building trains with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best.